when you truly listen to your students, to your teachers, to your community, and you get what I call my listening and learning campaign when I stepped onto this campus, that is what truly opens your door to know where you need to focus on. And when you come into a smaller district like this, or you're in a larger district, honestly, it doesn't matter. You hear the need, you hear the want, and that is how then you lead.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Leading Through Unprecedented Times. I'm Tom Murray, your host, and I am so excited for this episode for you to gain some additional perspective from another lens, and that's from Superintendent Lori Gonzalez from El Nido USD in California. Lori, how are you doing? Thanks for joining the podcast.
Hi, Tom. Good morning. I am so excited to be here and share my story here. It's actually sharing our story from El Nido, and so very proud to be here. And thank you again for the invite. Appreciate it.
We have some great topics to dive into as we were catching up for the podcast and hearing some of your story. There's such great things happening, but we're going to dive in. I want to start. Tell us a little about your experience as the superintendent and principal, as the administrator in the district, where you've come from, how long you've been there, and then just a bit about the demographics of the district as a whole.
Thank you. Honored to share. So yes, El Nido Elementary School District is a K-8 school district. It's a single school district in Merced County. And so many folks will say, what does that mean? It means it's a one school building. My district office is at the school site. And I serve not only as the superintendent, but also the principal. And so there are 160 students on campus, 98% free and reduced, 27% English learners. And so we have students that obviously are excited about being here as learners. They love their community. And the best part about this place is that we are the community. And so El Nido is not an actual city. It's a census populated place. And so what that means is that it's unincorporated. And so our folks here in the community have to go out to either Merced or over into Fresno or Madera counties to get any type of services. So the school site really serves as a hub for all the families.
Absolutely. I'm sure it did. And I'm sure there's some folks listening that said, wait, how many students did she just say? And where are they? So one of the things I want to dive into, you just mentioned community and started to dive into that. Let's talk a little bit about your community in the district. Obviously, with that number of students, a very close-knit community, I'm guessing, where you get to know many of the families really, really well over a period of time from their K-8 experience. So talk to us a little about what's it like being the administrator of a very rural place that's very small. Some might say, wow, there must be a lot of advantages to that, but also there's some realistic struggles there as well. So talk to us a little bit about the community, what it's like, and what it's like to lead a district that's real small as well as real rural.
So I actually intentionally took this position here in El Nido. What I did, in my previous district, I served as the associate soup and worked primarily in curriculum and instruction. And I really wanted to diversify my own experiences. So when I came here, I didn't realize how vast that experience is and how many opportunities there are. So I do, of course, curriculum instruction. I do professional development, but I also do construction, maintenance, operations. I am my own CBO and I am my own HR. So I have all of those experiences, and it makes it so much of a true feeling of what this community is like, which is we own everything we do here. We are together and we serve the families here. And so for me, it's been a really neat process. And the families here are ready to come to the school for any needs that they have. And so it gives us the opportunity to really get to know them. I walk into the cafeteria with students and it feels like I know every student. Knowing every student is so exciting because I know their needs, whether educational needs or health needs. It has been a great journey here, and I'm super excited to be part of this community.
Absolutely. And your passion radiates. One of the things I want to dive into, because personally, like I've never served in a district of that size or one that's real rural like that. Talk to us about some of the real unique struggles that you all have that other places just might take for granted. You know, you were just talking that you serve as the chief business office, you serve as a curriculum, like your cabinet meetings are like your personal appointment on your calendar by yourself, right? And
They
so,
are.
what are some unique challenges that other districts may take for granted that being real small like that or rural really creates some difficult situations?
Mhm. The biggest one, obviously, is equity and funding. We just don't have the monies as other larger districts do. So you have to be very creative with the money that you have and be very strategic with the funds that you have because your needs are the same. Regardless of the size of the district, students still have the same academic needs and you still have your ultimate why. You want every student to be successful when they walk out your doors and when they walk out into the high school and beyond, right? Post-secondary success. So you have to, knowing your funding, knowing your needs is very important. Having the 160 students allows you a little bit of a flexibility to really dive in and get to know those needs, which in larger districts sometimes is much more difficult. For me, the opportunity to actually sit and sometimes assess students has been real. It's been really helped me understand the diverse needs of our students. But the other component to the smallness and the ruralness is the idea that our eighth graders have a choice of up to 8 different high schools to select. When you have 8 different high schools, that connection to understand the pathways for their success is difficult as a sitting one person, administrator on campus. And so that in and of itself becomes an inequity. And so I work really hard and strategically with the high schools to ensure that our students are prepared to select the appropriate classes in high school that will help them be successful throughout those 4 years and beyond. One of the other things that has really been on the forefront for me coming here is when COVID hit, talk about inequities. We had absolutely no internet here at all. And so I had to be very strategic in getting partnerships and working with other entities to be able to just add to what we already have here, to be able to allow our families to get onto the internet and allow our students to continue to learn. And so just that in and of itself is what's a good and a bad in being a rural, in that you have to really dig in to attain what you need, but also understand that you're not given it all at one time.
Absolutely. And what a perspective that you have there, and your passion and energy truly radiate in all that you share as you talk about your people. So let's actually take a moment to dive back. The theme for this season is really around resilience and overcoming adversity. And educators have been through the ringer for 2 years now. And as we go through this, talk to us a little about the COVID journey and what that looked like with such a small rural district. Some folks will have on and they're, well, we went to our tech department and our tech department did all this stuff, and our food service department, they went over here and they did all this stuff. On your end, you're only talking a handful of people that could have been. So what does that look like in your journey over the past couple of years? And then tell us a story that you've seen around resilience and our people just running through walls for kids and breaking down barriers. And then we're going to dive into some other conversations. So tell us a little about your COVID journey as a team.
Yeah, so I started in 2019. So I was less than 6 months in when we had to shut down. And that was probably one of the scariest moments, not because of the pandemic in and of itself, but because of the idea that our students potentially were not going to be educated. We have no internet here, as I said before. We had teachers that although we were one-to-one and teachers utilized computers, they were not utilizing them to the depth of what this distance learning required. And resilience, when you talk resilience, it's my staff and my students and my families, because they were able to get through these years in such a manner that not only were we back in person, because of their drive to ensure that students were back in person sooner than most districts, but also have revamped their instruction, both in person and online, because of how close they got to students and understood their need. And so it's been a journey for sure. It's been a journey for sure. But I mean, I am the IT department, right? I have my assistant who assists me. We build partnerships with T-Mobile and with MCOE, the county office, to be able to get internet services to our students. We had parents come in, pick up computers. You know, we did the same like most districts, right? We had the drive up, pick up the computers. We had the packets for a little bit until we got going. The hardest part, you're right, is that I don't have a team or I don't have a department that could build lessons, but I have a network of phenomenal superintendents throughout not just California, but the nation who have those opportunities. And I was able to reach out to them, and they had their internet, their sites or websites full of free, materials that we were able to utilize. I also had other entities that I was able to purchase for nominal fees because they obviously, based on our numbers, were able to implement such programs and whatnot. And I got to say that the staff is absolutely 100% the ones that have to take the ownership to the great things that took place, because they insisted that the best place for our students to learn was on campus. So when I wrote the waiver and the waiver was approved, we were open the next day, which, by the way, we were open September 13th. So we were in person the entire year last year and this year, and we never shut down because we were confident in what we were doing. We were insistent upon our safety practices, and our families believed in us. And so we were in person, and despite all of this that went on, we've shown some tremendous growth. So yes, being small is sometimes difficult, and there are definitely some inequities, but there's also this different vantage point that you get because you are small, and you tend to look at things based off, okay, what do my 160 students need? What does this one school need? But that doesn't mean that you can then not look out and project it out and duplicate it. So yeah, it's been a great, it's actually been an amazing 3 years that I've been here, and I've only known 6 months of non-COVID. The rest have all been with all of these crazy things that happen, but we listen to it, we figure it out, and then we make do. And that's the one beauty about working where I am, because people do trust, and we have faith in what we have, and hope. Hope resides.
Well, one of the things I picked up on, you actually just said there at the end, is trust, right? It was trust with your team to say, like, we will find a way, and we know this is going to be best for our kids, and we're in a unique spot, and the needs of our community in terms of access and things are there. So let's find a way. And that trust that you had with your team, with your community, to make all of that work. So first, kudos to you all for really modeling that and what that can look like, especially at the size of the district. And wow, that's absolutely incredible. One of the things, Lori, that you brought up earlier is this notion of equity. Without even me probing it, you brought that up right away, and your heart radiates around that. And so my question is, at Future Ready Schools, we're really an equity focused organization. You already brought up the access piece, and that March of when everything happened, people that didn't have internet access at home, what we're going to do, how can we get there, and the plans of action. So talk to us about what equity looks like in your eyes, recommendations that you have for other superintendents or other building principals that are out there, and kind of the journey. You started to share from an access end, but we also know equity goes beyond the device and the computer, or the device and the hotspot and those things. Obviously for your students, that was a major component, just having that access, but it could also mean things around opportunity and some other things there as well. So talk to us about your equity lens, things that you're doing in the district to really move the work forward.
Thank you for that question, because equity is always on my forefront. And I will tell you, when you truly listen to your students, to your teachers, to your community, and you get what I call my listening and learning campaign when I stepped onto this campus, that is what truly opens your door to know where you need to focus on. And when you come into a smaller district like this, or you're in a larger district, honestly, it doesn't matter. you hear the need, you hear the want, and that is how then you lead. And for me, equity is about opportunities, experiences, and providing needed programs, interventions, whatever it may be. Our students here hadn't had curriculum that was up to date, because when you are funded the way we are, small districts tend to be on the back end of adoptions, tend to be on the back end of trying things because they don't have the funds. I'm completely different. I'm on the front end. I want to try. I want to know, because it's our students are going to be in the same rooms with the kids that did try and know. And so that for me was a very equitable thing that needed to change. When I look at my 8th graders and they're going off into the high school, because we are a small district and sometimes their 8th grade is a small class, we tend to get looked over. Math program. It had been very normal for our students to just be placed in Math 1 because, well, they're just coming from a Nido. Well, no, let's assess them. Let's find out where they truly belong. To me, that's an equity lens. What's good for one is good for all, regardless of where you come from. And if you're saying it's for all, then we do it for all. And so those are the things that I look for when I look at equity. But, to your question, if you just truly listen to what people are saying and engage them, you're going to find out. And your heart has to just bleed for them, because you know what it is, especially when it's your mamas and your papas that are talking, because they want what's best for kids. And regardless of where we come from, and regardless of who we serve, all our parents want what's best for their children. And so those are all my equity sort of forefronts to move forward with. And there are so many when you have a smaller district.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you for sharing your heart on that so much. And one other piece that I wanted to ask you talked about creating opportunities, and I understand you're doing some work around STEM to help prepare your students. You talk about pathways. So talk a little about the STEM work that you're doing, if you could.
Oh, I'm so excited about that. So when I walked into this campus, that's another thing, you tend to hold on to things for a really long time. And so if you all remember, just the old computer rooms, right, where they were all around the room, and you just sort of, you go in there, you really do more word processing than anything else. Well, that entire room got dismantled. And we have now a full STEM room with coding in there. We've got Lego robotics in there. I'm hoping to get a digital printer in there pretty soon. And so we're working very closely with MCOE to build monthly projects. I'm really working to ensure that my girls do coding and other type of technology, because we know we have a need for girls in science. And so what I do is I run it very strategically so that classrooms get to go in there once a week, just like, kind of like a library schedule. So ensuring that on top of additional opportunities, they do get that time. And kids are just besides themselves excited because they're getting to do things that they didn't think they could, and they're making connections. And that's the best part. When we did the coding with one day, someone said, "Oh, that's like when we did it in math." I'm like, yes, that's exactly it. So you're giving them those real, world experiences. So that's been a great thing. And then just pathways, just opening the doors for our kids to, especially in the upper grades, to what's going to happen, as I say, beyond our gates. So what are some of those extracurricular opportunities? What are those classes that they could potentially, take? And so we have either students or teachers come to campus and, have, like a presentation for our kids. So again, just giving them that opportunity. The other thing that I do is I have like family nights for our community, and I theme them out. So language arts, math, science, technology, and I give the parents the opportunities to also learn what students are learning. And that has been such a huge experience for our families, because they didn't have that before. So it allows them to walk on campus and see what's going on. I had to step back a little bit when COVID hit, and so we're doing them online, but those are all things that I really try to do for, for families. And then the last one is partnering with certain entities to be able to get product to them. Like right now, we're partnering with Fresno State, doing some parent classes, and parents are able to then have a computer for themselves at home. So really doing different things to bring the community to us, and then us, going out to the community for resources as well.
Absolutely. And what exciting work that is. And the community is obviously radiating and the incredible things that you're doing. So shout out to all of those efforts. I can just feel the passion and for kids, just the learning come to life as you're talking through that. What a great opportunity that is for them. So I have one more question for you before I let you run. And that is, what is it right now, and all the things you've experienced, all the leadership that you have, but right now, what is it that gives you hope as we continue forward in the pandemic?
Yeah, I love that question. I'm an optimist, and my true hope is that we can be united again, in humanity, and really love each other for who we are and celebrate our uniqueness, and not look at them as we're different. Actually look at it as we're unique, how beautiful that is. I recently read an article by Jeffrey Duncan Andrade, and he actually quotes Tupac in there. And he talks about, growing a rose through cement, right? That's Tupac's song, and how difficult that is. That's our job. Our job is to make every one of our students flourish like that rose. And it's difficult. It's not easy. Our job is not easy. But if we have hope and love and lead with that, then everything's going to be okay. And I say I lead with heart. I lean in with compassion and love, because if I can do that, and I can show others that it could be done that way, then hope is going to be there for all. And so for me, that is my hope. My hope is that we can all lead with heart, lean in on compassion and love, and make this a better place, because those babies that we lead today are who are going to take care of us in the future. And I want to be loved. That's the environment I want to live in. So that's what I hope for.
Absolutely wonderful. And I certainly can't end on any more encouraging, better words than that right there. So I will wrap up by saying that is the one and only Lori Gonzalez, everybody. Lori, thank you so much for your time today.
You are welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Tom.